Avatar's success does not only come from its main storyline. I love this show a lot, but if you summarize it only as being about a chosen one with elemental powers defeating a tyrannical dictator, it sounds like nothing but a standard adventure story. Where it excels is how it delves into the trauma and anxiety of characters that, in a lesser show of this sort, would not have been expanded beyond the archetypical. Katara is not just the glue of Team Avatar, but an overburdened teenager with a dark side she finally has to confront in the Southern Raiders. Zuko is a major inspiration for a lot of the morally ambiguous villains turned heroes stories we've gotten nowadays. But he's a lot more than just an angsty stereotype. This is his show as much as it is Aang's. He gets to be wrong and make bad decisions and question himself and wonder why his successes do not make him as happy as he originally thought they would. When he finally turns toward Team Avatar, the drama is not so much in the decision he makes as in the choice that has led him there. It's able to do this because it is not afraid to slow down, take a step back, and ruminate. Avatar is a relatively fast-paced show compared to other masterpieces of 2000s television like The Sopranos or Mad Men. But compared to your average animated show, which cares more about throwing as much as possible at you so you don't become bored, than it does about conveying a meaningful, well-constructed story, it's remarkable how much time the show is willing to spend on situations not connected to the main narrative, such as episode 216, Appa's Lost Days, where we track Appa's journey throughout the last couple episodes, which runs parallel to the journeys of our other characters. It is far from a dialogue-intensive episode, and the fact that they're willing to lean so much on the visuals and non-verbal cues attests to a lot of trust in the storytelling to still make sense to even a younger audience. Another episode of this sort, and one that I like more than pretty much any episode of this show, is episode 306, The Avatar and the Fire Lord. For those of you who don't remember the episode that well, I recommend you go re-watch it because it's fantastic, but I'll recap it here anyway. Aang and Zuko, the Avatar and the Crown Prince, learn about the last Avatar and the Crown Prince. Sozin and Roku were best friends as children, as Roku left to pursue being the Avatar and master all four elements. Sozin ascends to the throne and starts preparing his full-scale invasion of the world. When Roku returns for his wedding, Sozin reveals his plans to Roku, who rejects him. Now, I'd like to explain something. A lot of fans believe Sozin was just lying when he said he had the betterment of the world in mind, but I find that understanding of power rather spotty and a little childish. Think about colonialism, which is what this is really about. Colonial countries did want the resources of the colonized countries, that's true. But they also believed that the people of these countries were primitive and needed to be lifted up by the benevolent arm of Western civilization. Not all colonialists believed that, but a lot of them did. They believed their empires were positive for the colonized countries. You kind of have to believe that if you're willing to keep a colony like this for centuries on end. It's immoral, but it's wrong to think they didn't believe it. Some of them didn't, but a lot of them were earnest in their convictions, even though those convictions were, of course, very misguided and condescending. Anyway, Roku rejects Sozin's offer on the grounds that the four nations are meant to be just that, four, separate. Sozin ignores Roku's objections and continues his imperialist project after Roku leaves. Roku considers killing him, but later decides against it, and then he comes to regret this decision because of an incident on his home island when a volcano erupts. Sozin wants to help him, but later changes his mind, allowing his former friend to perish. 12 years later, Sozin launches his invasion of the world during the comet that would later be named for him, committing genocide on the Air Nation monks, but failing to kill the Avatar, who was not there because of a completely unrelated conflict he had with the monks. Sozin wasted the rest of his life searching for the last Airbender. At the end of the story, Iroh implores Zuko to help reverse this tragic tale. Just as the Fire Lord's decision then to betray the Avatar and pursue his own ambitions starts the 100-Year War, Zuko, as Fire Lord's decision to end the war and embrace Team Avatar fully brings that conflict to a righteous end. It's a really symmetrical story when you think of it like that. But you're left with the question of why exactly Sozin decided to betray Roku. On a superficial level, the answer to this is not that complicated. Sozin knew that Roku was in his way, and even though he still kinda did care about Roku, he could not let Roku stand in the way of his ambitions, so he allowed him to perish. It's a tragic, hateful, despondent end to a relationship that began in love and respect. Whereas Aang and Zuko started as enemies before becoming friends, with Zuko chasing Aang all around the world in Season 1, Roku and Sozin started as friends before becoming enemies. But this does not answer the question of why Sozin originally decided to help Roku before changing his mind. It certainly makes his betrayal more visceral and dramatic, but is that the only reason? In the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender and its sequel series, The Legend of Korra, there are no pure villains other than Vaatu, a being of complete darkness and chaos, and Ozai. Azula is arguably worse than her father, but she is also significantly more sympathetic. We get to see the environment that shaped her into the person she became. And in The Beach, we get to see glimmers of reflection, empathy, and melancholy shine from beneath her callous facade. Sozin still cares about Roku to an extent. Think about it. Sozin is a powerful authoritarian leader, the most powerful person in his country. And Roku is a Fire Nation citizen who, from all appearances, still lives in the Fire Nation up to the moment of his death. That Sozin does not try to have Roku killed is as much a symbol of the bond they once shared as the fact that Roku chooses not to kill Sozin during their confrontation. That he did not try to have Roku killed is a choice that comes from a lot more personal of a place than just the fear that Roku would kill Sozin if Sozin interfered with Roku's plans again. Obviously, we have evidence that if it's just a one-on-one fight, then Sozin would lose. But Roku does not seem to be the most aware person, and we see, as he fights the volcano, that he's grown frailer in his old age. I don't think it's completely reasonable to assume that Sozin could have sent assassins after him, and that if he had sent these assassins, they would have had a decent enough chance of being successful. Just as Roku does not kill Sozin, Sozin makes the conscious decision to save his friend. That their friendship has deteriorated over time and over ideological differences does not invalidate the years of closeness they shared. Not until Roku is left gasping for air by a jet of toxic fumes does Sozin fully appreciate that Roku is in fact going to die if he, Sozin, does not come in and save him. It's not a case of maybe he'll die or even probably he'll die. There is no chance of Roku surviving this. Sozin's brain starts calculating differently now. The question is no longer, do I help my friend, but rather, do I allow my friend to die so I, Sozin, can achieve my ambitions? When the possibility of Roku dying is more tangible, Sozin's opinion changes. I don't find this shift in opinion completely random. Think of Zuko at the end of Season 2. He has committed himself to change. He has committed himself to one line of action. He has committed himself to being a better person. But once Azula offers him everything he wanted, once that is tangible, he gives in to his darkest impulses. And so is the case with Sozin here. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is a brilliant, clever, and evocative show that only gets better the more you rewatch it. At its heart, Avatar is not really about a chosen one saving the world. It's about the question of what do people do when confronted with a bitter and war-torn society. What actions do they take? And how do they justify those actions? Though Roku blames himself for what happened with the Sozin situation, I'd argue the show does not blame him. He's just a person trying his best in a difficult situation, torn between personal connection and a lot of difficult challenges as to how to handle the world. He doesn't know how to take care of Sozin without killing him. Even Aang struggles with this decision. It's not Roku's fault that Sozin starts the war, but also, if Roku had killed him, Sozin obviously would not have been able to start the war. It's complicated, and the show wants you to revel in that. So anyway, thank you all for watching again. Tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Adios, comrades. See you soon.